Hello everyone, it's Jeff here again, back with another Spin Zone video for you. I've got another 8 albums to show, and the theme of this video, I'm not doing math problems with the title, because the title is 3 by 2 plus 2, which is just shorthand for, as I was looking through my rolling record crate, which you see barely down there, looking for some sort of organizing principle to do some listening, I found that I had 3 albums by several different artists and or bands. So I chose 2 of those artists, and you'll see 3 albums from each of them. So that's where the 3 by 2 comes from. And the plus 2 is just 2 random albums that I just didn't want to wait to listen to. I just wanted to play them. So that'll be the first one I show, the first random one, just because I'm a nut and I'm OCD, and that's going to balance everything out for me. And then the other random album will come at the very end. So I've also got, like I said, I picked 2 of the 4 artists, so I can do this again down the road if I so choose. But for now, let's start with one of the random albums, and that is, showed this one recently. This was VCLT from Steve Carlson. Stand Up by Jethro Tull, their first album, with the, I just love showing this again, with the famous pop-up gatefold. And here's the back. Always been a big fan of Jethro Tull. Seen them live several times in the 90s. They always put on a great show. And their first album here has some of my very favorite Jethro Tull songs, like A New Day Yesterday, Boré. The first song off of side 2, Nothing Is Easy. I've always heard that on the radio, and I'm so glad to have it finally, a copy of my own on vinyl to play whenever I want. The record itself sounded pretty decent, a little crackly, but you know what? It was free, it was VCLT. I'm not complaining. So yeah, I didn't want to wait around to play this one, so I spun it. My wife's a big Jethro Tull fan too. We have a lot of the same musical tastes, if you're getting that theme also throughout my videos. And she wanted to hear it too, so that's why I played it. Stand Up by Jethro Tull. Great debut album from this band. And the sound on it is a little different from subsequent albums. It just has more of like a deeper, earthier sound to it. Maybe it was the way it was recorded, I don't know. But love this record. This is a great one. Now, the first of the 2 artists that I've got 3 albums by is Rory Gallagher. This is his, I don't know exactly which album this is. This is his 3rd, maybe, 3rd or 4th, called Blueprint. This came out in 1973. Here's the back. I don't have a whole lot of like deep insight to really say about these albums, because Rory Gallagher is primarily a fantastic guitarist, and he basically just sings, you know, blues songs or bluesy-ish songs. So it's not like I can come up with a lot of deep, meaningful, insightful comments. Not that I do anyway, I know. You don't have to say it, I know. But I just like the guy. And it's been a long time since I've shown him. And these records, you know, slowly made their way towards the back of the crate. I was kind of saving them. I don't know why. It's just one of those things. I've got several other albums that when I bought them, I was like, ooh, I'm going to listen to it right away. And then things happen. I get busy. I can't listen to music for a long stretch, and they get pushed back. So this sort of theme helps me bring these back out to the front. So, Blueprint by Rory Gallagher. That's the first of the 2 artists that I have 3 albums by. That I haven't played yet. I should probably qualify that too. I haven't played these yet. It's not like I'm pulling them out of the cabinets here. All this is stuff that I've already listened to. The Rolling Crate is the stuff I haven't played yet. I need a drink of water. Okay. The other artist that I found I had 3 albums by is Elvis Costello. Now, unlike Rory, Elvis Costello albums have a little more meat lyrically to them. So, this is a reissue that I got sometime this year, I think earlier this year, of the Trust album. And I have to say, I've got many Costello albums, and these 3 that I'm going to show you have all turned out to be pleasant surprises. It's not that I disliked them before, I wasn't as familiar. So when I looked at the songs on this one, Clubland is probably the big hit. Watch Your Step, I think, was another single release. But there were many other songs on here that I'd heard before. I just didn't necessarily know what album they were from. And this is a very well-produced record. I really ended up enjoying this a lot more than I kind of thought I would. Because, you know, Elvis Costello has got so many Stone classic albums in his back catalog that, you know, sometimes keeping up with that high of a standard is a little tough. And this album, I always kind of thought, and from the reviews that I've read, that it was just kind of like a middling album. It was just kind of okay. But on listening to it for myself, I would have to disagree. I think this is a really good record. And if anything, I don't know if this might be one of his more overlooked records. Jeff Party, do you watch these videos? You're the Elvis expert. What do you think? Anyone else? What do you think about Trust? Where do you rate it? You like this one? High? Low? Is it good? Bad? Kind of in the middle? I liked it. And like I said, it's a very well-produced, well-played album. And, of course, the copy is... I am no fan of the reissues that came out a couple years ago of these albums. It's a brand new record. This one didn't have all of the junk stuck to it like the other ones that I had. But it just sounds like popcorn in many places, and it's really annoying, even after cleaning. You shouldn't have to clean new records. I know a lot of us do. But the way I look at it, if you're spending the money, because these albums aren't cheap, especially if you're getting reissues, you know, you're paying a decent buck for them. You should be able to just open it up and play it. You shouldn't have to clean them. That's just me, so don't bash. But anyway, Trust, I really enjoyed this album, a lot more than I thought I would. And it's definitely going to get several more spins from me in the future. Then we go back to Rory. This was his album called Tattoo. And I believe this came out in the same year as Blueprint did. They both say 1973. So I think Blueprint came out before this one. And here's the back. Blueprint and Tattoo here are on the Polydor record label. Very nice playing album. And just like with Blueprint, like I said, you play Rory for the guitar work. And a lot of the lyrics he sings are good too. It's just, he makes good music. That's why, you know, he's not a big lyrics guy. He's more of a music guy. Going back to that old thread that went through the VC. If you were talking lyrics versus music, that could be another sub-theme of this. Rory Gallagher would definitely be music, a music guy, and Elvis would definitely be more of a lyrics guy. for sure. Both enjoyable in different ways. So, and this is a very enjoyable record. Tattoo by Rory Gallagher. Then we go back to another Elvis Costello record that I don't know if it was very well reviewed. I mean, I know this, they made a big deal about this because I think this was the first one he made without the attractions, and that's King of America. A lot of music on this album. There's something like 15 songs on this record. He was working hard when he put this one up, for sure. And this one was produced by T-Bone Burnett and has a lot of guest players on it. But this isn't an Elvis Costello and the Attractions record. This is actually, if you look at the record label itself, it's called the Costello Show, featuring the Attractions and the Confederates. So it and this copy, just like the one I bought this and Armed Forces at the same time. They were both sealed reissues, and they both had junk all over them. It both required several cleanings, and I'm not gonna try and sound like a whiny bitch here, but this copy doesn't sound that great. Still, very crackly. I mean, in some spots it's decent. In other spots, you know, it sounds like Rice Krispies, and it really pisses me off. So, if I ever came across a nice original pressing of this, I would probably get it, because just like with Trust, I didn't know a lot about this album. I just know it wasn't. I just don't think it was highly reviewed. Just judging off of what I've read in the past, but I like this one almost better than Trust. This has got so many great songs on it, and Elvis can write lyrics like almost no one else. I mean, the stuff that he can put into these songs can just grab you by the heart and squeeze it until you're... Very powerful lyric writer. The music is good too, of course, but like I said with the Rory album, Elvis is definitely a lyrics guy. And the way he sings and the way he delivers those lyrics, you know, is very specifically, creates a specific effect. So, for my money, this was every bit as good as, you know, his other albums that came out at the time in the 80s. And, of course, I know Blood and Chocolate came out after this one, not too long after this one, and that's like one of his Stone classics. This one is very close. I would have to live with this one a little bit longer to make that kind of decision about it, but King of America was a really good album. I know this is one of Jeff Party's favorites. I know he liked it. I've seen him show this album many times before and talk about it, so I'm in agreement with you there. Then we get to the third and final Rory Gallagher album, which is called Calling Card. I think I posted this one on Facebook. This is on the... oh, here's just the back cover. Nice to see him smiling for once. This is on the Chrysalis label. This one, compared to the other two, is actually a little funkier. There's a little less of the hot guitar work that he's usually known for, giving it a little bit of a different feel compared to the other two. This one came out in the mid-70s, I think 76. Yeah, 1976. So, I like this one in a different way compared to the others. Usually, among his studio albums, you don't get as hot and heavy of a guitar compared to his live albums. His live albums are really where it's at for me, but these studio albums are pleasant too. I think this one had Tattoo had A Million Miles Away on it, which was the closest thing to a hit that Rory had off of the live version off of Irish Tour 74. It was interesting hearing the studio version of it. This album is, like I said, it has more of a funky beat to it. filtered through his style, of course. I'm not calling this a funk album by any stretch, but there's a little more emphasis on groove and rhythm compared to just hot guitar solos. So that made this album a little bit of a different listen and gave a little bit of a different dimension to him, his music and his sound. So that was a pleasant surprise, I have to say. And then my third and final Elvis Costello record is Spike. This one came out in 1989. Here's the back. This was the record that featured a couple songs that he collaborated with Paul McCartney on. Veronica turned out to be a pretty big hit for him, I know. And I think McCartney also plays bass on the song called This Town, which is another song that I really like, and you really have to listen to the lyrics. You know, it's one of those things where it's got this faster poppy beat, but you listen to what he's actually singing and you're like, wow. Ugh. So it's like a poison rose in a way. And this album also has he puts a ton of songs on his records, I have to say. This one's got like 13 or 14 songs on it. So he jam-packs these albums with just song after song of really great lyrical content, and the music is a little different than the other two. The Dirty Dozen Brass Band are guest stars on this album as well, and you can tell where they come in. Like I said, McCartney appears on this. Mitchell Froom was the producer, and he plays on a lot of songs. On a couple songs, Chrissie Hynde does the harmony vocal on a song called Satellite. But again, this is not an Elvis and the Attractions album. There's a lot of different guest stars here. And I guess this was looked as something of a comeback album for him, because he hadn't put an album out for a couple of years previous, and I think he changed record labels as well. So it felt like he almost had, or maybe he thought he had something else to prove by putting this record out. So you could tell he really gave it his all, and it shows in a lot of the tracks. So very happy to have this on vinyl. This is not a reissue. This was an original pressing, and it sounds so much better. So much better. So I'm just going to put it out there, you know, a warning for the Elvis reissues. I think they came out in 2015, I want to say, a couple years ago. Be wary, because the quality isn't really there, and it's a shame. But this was an original pressing on Warner Brothers Records. It sounds great. I really like this one as well, Spike by Elvis Costello. And then the final album for this video, the second random album that I couldn't wait to play when I got it, was also VCLT from Steve Carlson, and it was Vien Fleece by Van Morrison. I probably shouldn't have taken it out of the sleeve, because this side is split, the top is split, but that's okay. It's still in one piece, as long as I keep it in the sleeve, but sometimes I just took it out so it didn't reflect that bad. This was the most difficult Van Morrison album for me to track down. So thank you again, Steve, for your generosity in giving me this copy. I gave it the scrubbing bubbles treatment, actually 2 times. And I didn't play this before and after, but it cleaned up pretty decently. There's some crackles on it, but it's not that bad. Hey, like I said, I'm not complaining. For the price, I'm not complaining, believe me. But this one doesn't have any radio hits on it, because I didn't recognize a single song off of this album compared to his other albums from the early to mid 70s. So this was a completely brand new listen for me, and this is probably, this along with Astral Weeks, is probably his most chill, out there record. He does a lot of scat singing, The music is very relaxing, acoustic guitar. His singing is just so damn soulful. And this was, I really like this album. I'm going to be playing this one a lot more in the future. I can tell you that right now. So, I was super excited to get this. Watch, I bet you the next show I go to, I bet you I find a copy, just like Steve did. Isn't that the way? I would probably buy it too, because this is just a great, great album. And I can see why this is a favorite among Van Morrison fans. Especially, this is a super long title, but the song called You Don't Pull No Punches, But You Don't Push the River. It was like the final track on side 1, I believe. Wow. What a track. What a fantastic track. It reminded me almost, like I said, of a lot of the songs on the Astral Weeks album. Very, very nice. Very, very relaxing and calming to listen to. You know, it just makes you feel good, which is what music is supposed to do. So, it's my last album, my other random album, going away from the theme, Feed and Fleece by Van Morrison. And that's it. Thank you all for watching. It's the day after Election Day. I hope everybody went out there and did their civic duty and voted. I did. And I'm going to try to make a second video today. I go back to work on third shift tonight. My long vacation is finally over. And so I guess I have to come back to reality now. So I'm going to try and get another video made before I go back on third shift, because third shift usually turns me into a zombie. And I'm no good for anything. But, like I said, I appreciate everyone watching. I appreciate your comments. I love you all. And I will be back soon, so take care. Peace, everyone.